What's up, YouTube? We're here. It's Trexie. We're about to do mock draft 1 for the 2026 NFL draft. There's a lot of good players. We got, obviously, Mendoza, Arvell Reese, Ruben Bain, top really good defensive prospects, one good quarterback. Overall, the quarterback class isn't great. Wide receivers, very top loaded. Tight end class is alright. Offensive line is decent, deep, I guess in the top 50. Defense is probably the best part of this whole draft. Whoever's seen the prospects before probably knows, but as we get through this video, I'll explain some of the players and where their best fits are. But anyway, like, subscribe, hopefully we can get this channel started. And let's get into mock draft 1. Obviously, we got the Raiders here. Las Vegas. I'm not doing trades on this mock draft, but I don't think Vegas is going to trade this pick. It's going to be Mendoza. Mendoza out here, won the Heisman, brought Indiana, undefeated season, won the national championship. He led the nation in yards per completion. He throws the ball down the field, not like Carson Beck, who was had one of the most checked down seasons I've ever seen in my life. But we go Mendoza at 1. Brady's been seen at some of Indiana's games. He's obviously part owner of the Raiders, and he's probably going to have a hand in Mendoza's development under Kubiak. So we go Mendoza at 1. QB needy team. Geno Smith's probably going to be pretty mad about that, but he's already prepared for it. So we got another QB needy team here with the Jets. I don't see them going Ty Simpson. I think it's way too early. Maybe at 16. But I don't see them taking Ty Simpson at all. I think if you're sticking at 2, if they don't trade out, you probably go best player available, and that to me is Ruben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami. Just looking at his games in the playoffs alone, he was a wrecking ball. Like, nobody could contain him. Nobody can contain that entire Miami defensive line. You had Miami had Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. Akeem Mesidor, who is 25 years old, was not even projected into the top 3 rounds, and their playoff run, he shot himself up into a potential first-round pick without even needing the combine at this point. And I think that was led by Ruben Bain. He's been projected as a top pick for 2 years now, maybe 3. His one issue is his arms. He has short arms, and that can be a huge issue in the NFL. But I think if you get players around him on a defensive line, he'll be fine. Overall, I think he'll just be fine. He's a good enough player. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism, and he wants to be there. He's got the drive. He's all around a very good football player, in my opinion. And I don't think you can go wrong taking Ruben Bain at 2 for the Jets, who need a lot of help everywhere on that whole defense. After you trade away Quinnen Williams and then you trade away Sauce Gardner, you have no star power on that defense. You have 2 edge rushers there, Jermaine Johnson and... why am I blanking? But 2 former first-round picks at defensive end, and they just have not cut it. Not up to what they were expected to do. So now you bring in Ruben Bain, and hopefully you have a 3-man rotation. You don't gotta rush him in. You play every down. He's very good in run defense. And you have two defensive ends that are coming up on the end of their contract. It's time to hit a reset in Miami with Aaron Glenn. Or not in Miami, in New York with Aaron Glenn. I overall don't think Aaron Glenn is going to be there very long. I think he probably gets fired sometime this year. No offense to Aaron Glenn. I think he's a great coach. He was great with Detroit. A lot of injuries there and still led that defense to be great. Unfortunate that they lost to the Commanders. I don't believe that was fully on his part, but it just happens. And now he's with the Jets, and you're a defensive-minded head coach. In the first year, you have the defense have 0 interceptions. Never happened before. I just think his time in New York is very short, and he's on a very short leash. And if they don't win probably 4 out of their first 10 games, he will most likely be fired by then, in my opinion. But moving on, we have Arizona. They have a lot of holes. Just brought in Mike LaFleur. Offensive-minded head coach was the Rams' offensive coordinator. Obviously, McVay there, he calls the plays, but still, very good system to come out of. Usually, offensive coordinators turn out pretty well after being under McVay. As we can see here, very needy on the offensive line. You have Paris Johnson Jr. at tackle. As long as he stays healthy, I think you have a solidified pillar there. But the rest of the offensive line is not set. Maybe your center's fine, but I just don't see it. I think you're between Fano and Mauigoa here. I mean, Mauigoa didn't have the best season, didn't have the best tape, but he's still a top-end talent at tackle in this draft. He can move into guard if you need him to. He's got the size for it. I think bringing in that versatility, because Fano can play both sides can play tackle on both sides, but I honestly think it would be Francis Mauigoa here, CC Mauigoa. I think just bolstering that offensive line in a lackluster QB class, I think just bolstering that offensive line and trying to keep Kyler healthy for one more year, get his trade value up potentially, or even keep him as your franchise quarterback. I think just having him, Mauigoa there, he can help develop a new offensive line, a new regime. Have Paris Johnson Jr., Francis Mauigoa, and then if James Conner comes back healthy, or any other running back on that roster, hopefully their run game is better. And just keep Kyler healthy, keep him in the pocket. And I guess I assume they're gonna be top of next year's draft as well. But being in that division, I think they're going to be at top of the draft again, the Cardinals. But moving on to the Titans. I've seen reports that if David Bailey is available at 4, they won't pass on him. I think Saleh loves him, a guy who can rush the passer. He's a bit light, but you don't need him down in run defense. I mean, obviously, as a top 5 pick, you would love him to be able to do anything. But, I mean, having David Bailey, his athleticism, his ability to rush the passer, that's elite. You need that on a defense that was horrible. Horrible. You had no bright spots on that defense outside of Jeffrey Simmons, and Jeffrey Simmons is getting to the end of his career. You need to bring in youth. You need to bring in high-quality talent, and I think David Bailey is that. He comes in like he was All-American, a lot of sacks, he's very explosive, and that brings a new type of athleticism, speed, talent to that defensive line. where that defense is going to have to get to the quarterbacks in order to produce, because they don't have the coverage skills, and their offense overall is not elite enough to put up points to where their defense can allow 30 a game and they have a chance to win the game like the Bengals. The Titans need to get to the quarterback. They need to get there quick, and hopefully David Bailey for them is that option. He's that guy. Next up, the Giants. Arvell Reese is still on the board. Caleb Downs is still on the board. They wouldn't go Jeremiah Love. They already have Cam Scatterbo. For me, I think they go wide receiver. I think they're looking to develop that wide receiver room. Wan'Dale Robinson is a free agent. You have Malik Nabers. You can bring back Wan'Dale and have him be your slot and still bring in a guy like Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson. I think Mekhi Lemon is the second best wide receiver in this draft class. I think Carnell Tate is one, just because of Jordan Tyson's injury history. But you're not going to bring in a Mekhi Lemon, especially if you're re-signing Wan'Dale Robinson, just because it would. You need an outside guy, and I don't think Mekhi Lemon can be a full-time outside guy. He's going to be in the slot. He's going to be moving around. He's going to find those zones. Carnell Tate, he's great. He's fast. Can get over the top. He's smart. He knows systems. He knows zone coverages. He knows man coverage. He knows how to beat it. He knows where to sit in the zones. He knows what to do. And coming out of Ohio State, he had a great season. He was obviously overshadowed by Jeremiah Smith. Probably one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen in my life. I love Jeremiah Smith. But you have Carnell Tate there. Julian Sayin had two of the best wide receivers in the nation. Right there. Sucks that Ohio State didn't win the Natty. They came up short against Miami, couldn't score. Or, I don't want to say couldn't score. They had a good game. But in the end, their offense didn't produce enough points against that Miami defense. But I'm going to go Carnell Tate here. You put Carnell Tate with Malik Nabers, that offense can get lethal as long as Jackson Dart can stay healthy and Cam Scatterbo can stay healthy, because now you have to worry about stacking the box against Scatterbo, or he's going to go like he did against the Eagles. You're going to run for 3 touchdowns. Or you have Malik Nabers on one side, you have Carnell Tate on the other. You can't double. If you want to run too high, yeah, you can do that, but then you leave open Theo Johnson, which, I mean, Theo Johnson's not an elite talent, but in a offense with that many options, I think he can become a safety blanket in a way for Jackson Dart. As long as everybody stays healthy, I think the Giants have a very bright future ahead of them, especially under John Harbaugh, who has brought offenses to life with the Ravens, with Lamar. Now the Browns. They need a lot. I don't think you go QB. I think you give Shedeur another year and then decide going into next year's draft with all those quarterbacks. So I think you look at the board, you're obviously going offense. That offense was terrible. Bottom 3 in the entire league in almost every category. You have your running back. You have 2 running backs, actually. You have Judkins, who got injured at the end of the season. Hopefully, prayers up to him. Hopefully he recovers well. But I don't think you go Jeremiah Love. I don't see it. I don't see a world where the Browns take Jeremiah Love, especially at 6. Not with having 2 running backs and one wide receiver in Jerry Jeudy who has rough patches every couple weeks. So I think you need to start looking for a wide receiver. You could take Jordan Tyson or you can go Makai Lemon. I think just with the Browns, they need guys that can stay healthy. And I think Makai Lemon, he was ranked as the number one wide receiver in all of college football last year. I think you go Makai Lemon. He can do anything for you. He can just be pretty much your whole offense. He's like that Luther Burden type of player coming out of Iowa last year, went to the Bears. Just, I think, at a higher level. So, Browns, I think, did very well. Also, another thing is the tackle class is so deep that I think they do go on wide receiver, pick wide receiver early compared to an offensive lineman, because if you look at the wide receivers at the top of the board when they're available at 6, Makai Lemon, Jordan Tyson, and then the fall off is so much more than if you took a Spencer Fano at 6 and looked at them. You're probably only having Monroe Freeland, like these guys down here. Like you're not having Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu, Caden Proctor. Like there's potential, but you don't know for sure. Moving on to the Commanders, Bobby Wagner is towards the end of his career. We don't know if he's coming back fully or not, and they need a leader. The Commanders' defense was terrible. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of picks. They're going to try to free up a lot of money, and it's going to cost their defense a lot too. So I think you bring in Arvell Reese, who was one of the best defenders in all of college football last year. You can replace Bobby Wagner for when he retires, even if he doesn't retire after this year. Your run defense right there is just boosted, because Bobby Wagner is one of the best run defenders out of linebackers. Arvell Reese, you can put him as an edge, you can put him as a linebacker. Don't know, he's kind of that Micah Parsons type of prospect where he was great as a off-ball linebacker throughout college, and I think once he gets to the NFL, they're going to utilize more of his down-on-the-ball edge rusher type abilities. And obviously seeing Micah Parsons, that worked for the Cowboys and now for the Packers. So I think the Commanders, especially with Dan Quinn as their head coach, defensive-minded guy, is going to want to bolster that defense. Now, Kellen Moore needs weapons. He has Kamara, and we don't know for how long Kamara is going to be there, but I don't see them taking Jeremiah Love here. It's very high potential, but I'm just not taking him here. I'm going to go Jordan Tyson. I think you need a wide receiver across from Chris Olave, especially if you can't get a deal done with Chris Olave. He's coming up. He needs an extension. He's had so many concussions. He might retire at some point very early in his career. Hopefully that doesn't happen. He's a great player. But you never know. You need a wide receiver in New Orleans. Tyler Shuck looks great to end the year. It's starting to look like you got your quarterback. He's 25 already. You don't have a whole lot of time for a window to open up under Shuck's rookie contract. So you need a wide receiver to hopefully kickstart that and open up that offense a lot more, because it looked very one-dimensional last season. So I think Jordan Tyson, with his size, he can play well on the outside. As long as he stays healthy. New Orleans might have gotten their new wide receiver wrong. You got the Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to get his running back. Jeremiah Love is great, not only as a runner, but he can catch passes out of the backfield. It's great. I see a potential where they go and sign Breece Hall out of free agency, because I think Breece Hall is done with New York. but I don't think the Chiefs have enough money to just, like, guarantee that they have Breece Hall already. So I think in this scenario, they're going to run the ticket up for Jeremiah Love. Get Patrick Mahomes his running back. You have Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, who are both free agents this offseason. You need to bring in a run game because it did not work last season. We saw it. Their run game was abysmal, and it hurt their offense, like their whole passing game in general. It just, their whole team looked awful last season. Injuries also played into that, but overall, I think the run game was one of the bases of why the Chiefs struggled so much last season. Bengals here at 10. Bengals defense is horrible. You're probably losing Trey Hendrickson unless you franchise tag him. And I think that, for them, is very dumb. It sucks to let a guy like Trey Hendrickson, who had 17.5 sacks back-to-back seasons, led the league in sacks 2 years ago. It sucks to let a guy like that go. But it gets to a point where you need to. You need to save yourself money. You have so much money allocated into your wide receiver and your quarterback that you can't pay anything else. You could bring in Keldrick Falk. I think just overall, that would be the best move for them. And I think that's what they're going to do. Keldrick Falk is also, if you look at the previous drafts that the Bengals have had, their ownership and their GM regime, Keldrick Falk is like the epitome of edge rushers that the Bengals take. They don't take small guys like David Bailey. They don't take guys with short arms like Ruben Bain. They don't take chances on those things. They go for surefire, big edge rushers that can be down, help in the run game, and get to the passer, can rush the passer, and Keldrick Falk is that. Auburn obviously didn't have a great season, but Keldrick Falk has produced over the past couple years, and he has shown that he is worth a top 15 pick, potentially top 10, as we can see here with the Bengals. Bringing him in, if you lose Trey Hendrickson, I'm not saying he's Trey Hendrickson level, but bringing him in, that's a great place filler, and hopefully potential like franchise edge rusher now for the Bengals, because they need it. They need a good defense. They need to start that defense rebuild. You have Shamar Stewart on the other side too, who can also hopefully can develop and help have a good edge rusher tandem between Stewart and Falk, and hopefully this year the Bengals owner does not try to screw over another first-round draft pick. Miami, today, they released Tyreek Hill, they released Bradley Chubb, they released a couple more players, James Daniels. They're going for a fire sale. They're trying to hit a complete reset, and they're not going to be competitive this season. I think what they're looking for is Hafley to develop the defense. I think they're giving Hafley a couple years. I think they realize that this is going to take a while, and they're just ready to hit that go into that rebuild phase that they've been in and out of, like on the cusp of, for the past couple years. You have the 11th pick. Personally, I would trade it. Just try to get more picks. Like, you have a lot of picks. Like, you have 2 third-round picks. You have the one from the Jalen Phillips trade. But you just need more players. Quality is not what you're looking for in this draft at this point. Like, I mean, the draft class isn't great. I mean, it's not best in the world. It's not like that 2023 defensive draft class. You had Jalen Carter, Will Anderson Jr., like two of the best defensive players in the entire league at this point. It's not like that. They're not going to develop, like, these players are not going to develop into, like, the best players in the entire league. I don't see it. They're going to be above average players, for sure. Some of them, most of them, at least in the first round. There's going to be busts, and for the Dolphins, you do not want to have a bust. You can't do it. And I would personally, if I was the Dolphins, I would trade back, but we're not trading back in this. So I think to start it, I'm going to go Delane. He was one of the best cover guys in all of college football last year. That LSU defense, I mean, the whole LSU team did not play well last year, but he specifically played great. Shut down his side of the field. It's great in coverage, zone, man, everything. Can do everything. It's between him and McCoy. McCoy was the number one corner 2 years ago. Suffered that injury, missed all of last season. I think just that specifically drops him in value for teams. I think he's going to drop a little bit in the draft just because we don't know how he will be. He had one amazing year. He's the best corner in all of college football. But with the Dolphins specifically, they can't take a chance like that. They can't have like that swing for the fences type of move this year. That's probably a next year thing. The Dolphins take Delane. He's great in coverage, can start a corner rebuild, a whole DB rebuild, a whole defense rebuild for the Dolphins. And I think he's going to be one of the cornerstone pieces for that defense coming into next season, if he's drafted there. Got the Cowboys here. Could see them going Sonny Styles. A lot of people have them going Sonny Styles. He's a great linebacker. They need linebacker help. But I think there's a world where Kenny Clark is released and you want to just bolster your interior defensive line and you get a guy like Peter Woods. Clemson sucked this year, obviously. They were potential national champion winners, like everybody predicting that at the beginning of the season. They come into the season, Cade Klubnik looks bad, the whole defense looks bad, coaching is completely horrible. Obviously, Peter Woods didn't have the best of seasons, but he's produced over the past 3 years. Just like most of these guys, like, their teams may have had down years, but they still produced. Delane, Keldrick Falk, Jeremiah Love, he produced like crazy. He was in the Heisman. He was a Heisman candidate. Obviously, Notre Dame. Notre Dame was great, but they missed the playoffs. Like, Peter Woods is obviously 6'3", 315. Putting him next to Quinnen Williams, you have one of the best defensive tackle tandems ever at that point, if Peter Woods is up to par. So I think Peter Woods for that defensive line would be great. They got a new defensive coordinator in Christian Parker. He's great with Philly. He was great with Denver beforehand. Developed corners. He was a defensive backs guy. He's a great corner guy, and I think getting him a defensive line piece that can help get to the quarterback can help jumpstart a defensive rebuild in Dallas, because they consistently have one of the worst defenses in the entire league every single year. Going to LA, they have 2 picks. I think there's a potential where they try to trade up for somebody, but also I think they could just move off one of these picks. You have Caleb Downs on the board. I'm sorry, but Like, you gotta take him. You need a safety. I mean, you don't need a safety, but like a player at Caleb Downs is, with his abilities, is insane. He's a leader. He's one of the best safety prospects we've ever seen. He's young, not raw. He's great. He knows he knows where to be at all times. He attacks the ball, gets downhill. He's great in run defense. He's great in pass defense. He's great in coverage. He knows he can be a complete leader. Putting him alongside Quentin Lake, who's going to probably be the slot corner for the Rams next season. You got a good safety tandem there. That defense just went from great to potentially elite, bringing in Caleb Downs, a leader like that, who can be all over the field. So I think for the Rams there, who have Super Bowl aspirations with potentially Matthew Stafford's last season, I think Caleb Downs is one of those guys that can bring that there. The Ravens here, I see them going Vega Ioane out of Penn State here. I think that's going to be the pick. Vega, one of the best interior offensive linemen in all of college football. Penn State sucked this year, but he hasn't allowed a sack in 2 years. He's great. I would love, I'm an Eagles fan, so I would love him to drop to us potentially and be a replacement for Tyler Steen, who I personally did not like this season. But I think he goes here at 14 to Baltimore. I think with what's already off the board at this point, I know you have Jesse Minter, who's a defensive guy, but I think bolstering that offensive line, getting a guy who can be there for years to come, and at that level that he has played through college, if he can produce that in the NFL, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are in a great spot with Vega Ioane. Moving on to the Bucs, you have Lavonte David retiring. You need his replacement. It's Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles is probably the best coverage linebacker in all of college football. Honestly, as middle linebacker, he's the best linebacker in all of college football. You had Arvell Reese. I think Arvell Reese the only reason he's very high up is because of his ability to rush the passer. Sonny Styles is the complete opposite kind of linebacker as Arvell Reese. Used to play safety, and he's 6'5", 243. That is huge. He moves great. He's great in run defense, just like Arvell Reese is, and he's great in pass coverage. And I think having him in Tampa Bay is great for them. You replace Lavonte David. You have a long-term replacement for Lavonte David. And hopefully your defense elevates, because last season it had a lackluster year that ultimately made you miss the playoffs, on top of injuries as well on the offensive side of the ball with Mike Evans. And you don't know if he's going to be back. You had Emeka Egbuka, who was great. Your first-round pick from the previous season was a potential offensive rookie of the year. Didn't get it, but young guys in Tampa Bay are looking good. You got the Jets here. I think it's McCoy. You lose Sauce Gardner, you have to bring in a replacement. Jermod McCoy was the best corner in all of college football two seasons ago. He's fast, can cover very well. He's 5'11", 193. He's probably 6 foot potentially. So you've got the size. He's not Sauce Gardner, who is 6'3", but you lose Sauce Gardner, and now you have Jermod McCoy. Hopefully he can bring an interception or two to New York. I think Detroit needs their offensive line buffed. And you have Spencer Fano, who can play both sides at right or left tackle. You can potentially move Penei Sewell over to left tackle and have Fano play right tackle. But even then, I think you can put Fano in at left tackle. He has experience at both sides, and I think if you bring in Fano, it can work on the left side. So you need offensive line help in Detroit. They need to hold up for Goff. So I think Fano is there. He's obviously still a project, but overall, out of the offensive linemen, I think he's one of the better ones. Minnesota, their defense is old. They don't have money. They can't go out and sign free agents. They need to restructure contracts. They need to release players. They're probably going to cut a corner. And I think you need to bring in a replacement at corner, and I think Avion Terrell is that out of Clemson. You can put him on the inside. He can be a slot guy. He can be an outside guy. I think most likely he's best at the slot in the NFL. But I could see him on the outside. He's a bit light for an outside corner. I mean, he's not really that light, to be honest, but I could see him going both slot or outside, depending on what the Vikings need. They just need youth at this point. They need youth. They need rookie contracts. They need to save money. And Avion Terrell, who didn't have a fantastic season, still can get into the top 20. The Panthers, could see them going offensive line because Taylor Moton needs a replacement eventually. They could go Caleb Lomu. Could also go Kenyon Sadiq, get another weapon for Bryce Young. But I think you go to the defensive side. I think you go Caden McDonald. Next to Derrick Brown, who last season your defensive line did not fare well against the run completely. So I think adding in one of the best run defenders in all of college football should help that, especially alongside Derrick Brown, who is amazing. I was looking at this draft, how the board fell. Cowboys got a Clemson guy. I think you bring in his teammate. I think you just bring in his teammate, TJ Parker. They just completely revamped their entire defensive line. You have Ezraku from last year who can rush the passer pretty good. You have TJ Parker who can be down and he can go play against the run and he can rush the passer. And now you have a set defensive line with the Cowboys. The rest of the draft you can focus on getting a DB. You can get a DB in free agency, whatever. You bring in this tandem that was in Clemson for years, and they know each other, they know how to play next to each other, and now you bring them in together. The Steelers are a QB needy team, but we are not going to take Ty Simpson here. I don't see them working with Ty Simpson, even if Rodgers comes back, him as a backup. I don't see it. I think you go here and you take Caden Proctor. Your offensive line is terrible. You need to bring in offensive line depth. Even if he doesn't start his first year, bring him in. Get him developed to the offense, to the system. Play him. You can put him in as a guard. So there's a lot of versatility with him. He's huge. Humongous. I don't think he's up to this weight anymore. I think he's down closer to 340, 350 right now. But he's huge. So, and that's kind of like the Steelers' motto, big guys. So I think Caden Proctor is probably a guy that will end up in Pittsburgh. For the Chargers, Vega Ione is probably their best bet. but now that he's off the board, Emmanuel Pregnon. He was great for Oregon. Very good at run and pass blocking. Still needs some development. He's not fully there yet. That's just like all of these players, but I think he needs some time, and I think in a Jim Harbaugh type offense where he specifies and gets down with the offensive linemen, makes sure they're good. I think his development and the way he runs an offense is very good for Emmanuel Pregnon. I think this is a bit early for him. I would probably have him in this like Texans to Patriots range. But I think the Chargers, especially if Ione's off the board, probably Pregnon. Because they need to revamp that awful offensive line from last season. Got Philly here, Eagles. Kenyon Sadiq's on the board, potential Dallas Goedert replacement. Caleb Lomu's on the board, guy who can be a replacement for Lane long term. Caleb Banks, I don't know if you want to take his upside maybe. The Eagles typically go best player available until you need something. And I think we saw last season, especially in the first half of the season, we needed a CB, a corner. We needed a corner too, alongside Quinyon. Because Adoree Jackson was getting targeted nonstop. He was getting benched. I mean, he finished out the year strong, but he's a free agent. You need a guy who can be there for years. And I think Colton Hood, who excelled in that Tennessee defense last year without Jermod McCoy there, I think bringing in a guy like Colton Hood, who is great in coverage, is a good option, a good CB2 option. Having that defense will allow you to, like, having that corner, like, coverage skills with Colton Hood and Quinyon, I think that allows you to still run the same type of defense that Vic Fangio runs, where it's all about not letting anything over the top. You just force everything underneath, even if your pass rush is not getting to the quarterback majority of plays, you still have the coverage that doesn't allow stuff over the top. It doesn't allow developing plays. And I think Colton Hood really elevates that. The Browns, we talked about it earlier, where they were between offensive line and receiver. They need offensive help, and Caleb Lomu is going to be a guy. He's going to be a guy that they're going to target potentially in this draft. And I think at 24 is probably a good spot for him. They need offensive line help. Bad. Very bad. He is probably the best pure tackle in the draft, in my opinion. And the Browns need it. I mean, you have guys on the inside potentially retiring, and you don't have a tackle for the future. So I think getting Shedeur more time will help him in the pocket, will help develop him as a quarterback, and that will solve you an issue for next year's draft as well, where you don't need to draft a quarterback in a very high quarterback drafted class. So potentially, even if you get a high draft pick and you decide that Shedeur's your guy, you can trade that pick away just because Caleb Lomu and Mekhi Lemon helped that offense. The Bears, I like going for a defensive tackle for them, and I think Lee Hunter is a guy. He balled out in the Senior Bowl. He's very good at getting to the passer, and that's what the Bears need. The Bears need a pass rush. We saw it last season. That was ultimately their downfall. They could not rush the passer, and offenses were able to move the ball on them like the Rams did. And I mean, obviously that interception ended the season for the Bears, the one that Caleb Williams threw. But they could have been in much better shape if their pass rush could have just gotten to Matt Stafford throughout that game. So I think Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, who had one of the best defenses in all of college football last season, is a good guy to bring in. You have the Bills. I don't like what they've been doing. I don't like that they fired McDermott. I don't like if you fire McDermott, you want to bring in an entirely new regime. You don't bring in Joe Brady and have the same issues again and again and again all the time. And then you have the owner trashing Keon Coleman. So I think Keon Coleman's out. So that means you need a wide receiver. You really need a wide receiver for Josh Allen because he cannot keep doing this all by himself. Casey Concepcion, he's a potential guy, but I think Khalil Shakir will stop them from taking him. So I think you bring in a big-time guy in Denzel Boston. He's not, projected to be this amazing all-time player, but he's big. He's big, and he can get jump balls. So that's good for Josh Allen. That can help his down-the-field passing. They can become a more vertical type of offense that can develop into a more modern, where you don't need Josh Allen running the ball every single play just to stay in the game. So I think Denzel Boston is a guy who can be a very good friend for Josh Allen. Even the Niners here. The Niners, they lost Robert Saleh. So, obviously, I don't think their defense is going to fare very well next year. Robert Saleh's great. He's an amazing defensive mind. You don't see many of them as a defensive coordinator. And we see now he's the Titans head coach. So, I think you have injury issues with that Niners team every single year. So, you need to bring in guys. I think Akeem Mesidor from that playoff run was great. He can rush the passer very well, and now you have Nick Bosa coming back at some point next season. Who knows when exactly? I don't know when exactly. It's probably said somewhere, but I don't know. You have your first round pick last year out of Georgia, who hopefully comes back sooner rather than later. And then you bring in Akeem Mesidor because now you have a good trio of pass rush and overall defensive line help that hopefully helps the Niners develop a good defense. You have the Texans here who really need offensive line help. Really bad. And I think Blake Miller can be a guy, potentially. Caleb Tiernan, he's very good. They're both good tackles. You can see Jennings Dunker. I think he needs a different type of scheme. But I think they would feel like they're reaching at that point. I think the Texans are going to trade back, personally. But if they're here, I think they're going to take the upside on Caleb Banks. He's, as it shows here, broke out 4 sacks with 7 TFLs in 2024, showing off blue chip raw tools. He's raw right now. He had the injury, but he is a monster. He can complete that Texans defense will be the best in the NFL for 4 years if he turns out to be as great as he's supposed to be and hits his max potential, because you have Will Anderson Jr., you pay him, and then you have to pay C.J. Stroud. There's not a lot of money to go around, so you have to. A lot of times, defensive tackles get shipped off. So I think Caleb Banks being on a rookie deal will help them a lot. And his playing potential, too. The Rams here. I could see Ty Simpson. I don't see it this early. Maybe they trade up in the second round and say screw these picks like they do every year. But I think you go corner potentially. You could look for a Brendan Sassay. trying to see who else is on the board here. You already took corner. Or not corner, you took Caleb Downs, safety. So you helped that. I think you go offensive line, actually. You go offensive line. You need to keep Stafford healthy, especially if he's going to play longer than just this upcoming season. So I think getting that offensive line young, and even if it's not for Stafford, if it's for the future guy, I think Blake Miller's a guy that you can bring in to be a cornerstone tackle for you for the next 5 years, maybe even longer if he gets an extension. I think Blake Miller's probably a good guy for the Rams here. The Broncos, I could see Sadiq if you want, because Evan Ingram did not have a fantastic season. I just see probably more CJ Allen. Their linebacker room is not fantastic. They have a great defense, but overall their linebacker room is not fantastic. You have a lot of free agents, and Dre Greenlaw cannot stay healthy. So, bringing in a guy, he's raw, needs development. He's young. In CJ Allen out of Georgia, and we've seen in the past that Georgia players do produce in the NFL. They play in a NFL style defense within Athens there. So I think CJ Allen can help bolster that Broncos defense and help Vance Joseph, who has produced one of the best defenses over the past 2 years. So I'm going Kenyon Sadiq. He's too good of a talent to keep falling this far in the draft. And I think getting him in New England would be insane. Their offense did not produce well in the playoffs, obviously, but overall last season they were great. Drake May was fantastic. You get him another weapon, and that keeps you from needing another wide receiver, because he is a wide receiver type tight end. He can help you in the run game, but he's a guy who can be used all over the field like a Travis Kelce type of player, find zones, be used as a overall receiver type tight end rather than like a George Kittle, even though George Kittle is used as a receiver, but you don't see him making a reception every play like Kenyon Sadiq can. And now the reigning champs, Seahawks. I think you bring in another South Carolina guy. You have Nick Emawari there at safety. Now you bring in Brandon Sisse. You have, let me go back here. Anyway, you have Tariq Woolen is a free agent. You have Devon Witherspoon. Now you need another corner, another cover guy. You have Josh Jobe, who's, I don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign him. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They have a lot of money right now, but they need to worry about the potential extensions that they have in the future. So Josh Jobe may move on to a different team. I see Brandon Sisse as a great cover guy. He's very smart. He understands both of his coverages, both types of coverages. He's athletic enough, and he's got the size. So I think he would fit well in that Mike McDonald defense. So overall, that was all 32 picks. It's not up right now, but it was. I think every team this would be their best pick, to be honest. I mean, there's obviously, if a team was higher up in the draft, they could pick a better player for them, but I think in this specific spot with no trades, this was the best possible draft. So, I guess that was a good first mock draft. We'll do this every Monday. We'll do mock draft Mondays, I guess. And we'll watch the combine. We'll get more information. We'll make different picks. I don't want to have the same picks every single time. And I guess we'll come back next Monday with a new mock draft. See you guys.